Zavali.
Hey, Patrick Hines.
How are you, girl?
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Girl, do you have an update for the people?
I do.
Yes.
I have an update for the people that has nothing to do with me, thankfully.
Yeah.
It is about our dear friend, Miss Kitty Rotolo.
We should also mention that we are talking about a person from our last episode, the death and life of Marsha P. Johnson.
Yes.
I remember the girls had put me on point. Miss Kitty, watch out. There's a car full of Guidos, driving around.
I need more Kitty Rotolo in my life. I don't even have time to talk about anything else. So I Googled her, and I was like, well, what the hell is she arrested for?
Yeah.
And we made a joke. We were like, well, I hope it's not.
Right.
Like, I hope she's not
like a
secretly
baby
a monster.
killer. Yeah,
or
exactly.
whatever. No. So here's an article that I found on April 1st, 2015, not April Fool's joke, from the New York Daily News. And they mislabel her. They call it's a man. They say man and he. That's how
the New York Daily News is pretty good. That sucks.
Yeah.
So what happened?
This is the headline. Towering 6'8" career criminal swipes $40,000 Hindu goddess of compassion, then apologizes after arrest.
Hey, she apologized.
6'8". You guys, we are super energetic. We do not exaggerate when we talk about things and describe. So if you haven't seen The Life and Death of Marsha P. Johnson, and we're like, she's a very tall drink of water. She's 6'8". She was 51 at the time, and it said that she's a career criminal. She's been in and out of jail since 1985. All nonviolent arrest. It's all like she was stealing a lot. And apparently and I'm going to say she, I don't care that the article says
Yeah.
She literally walked in, was like, look at this gigantic statue, and just walked out with it. And the witnesses couldn't believe that she did that. But then there was also a witness that was like, you can't miss her. She's super tall. And then the cops found her, and she was like, here you go.
Like the same day?
Like minutes later, it says a store manager chased after her, then alerted two nearby police officers in a patrol car who quickly caught up with Rotolo. As the cops blocked her path at the corner, the gentle giant turned around and handed the pricey statue back to the manager. I'm sorry, she said, Sherman recalled. Hey, I love Kitty Rotolo.
Okay, girl, are you ready?
I guess.
All right, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about Tickled. I felt a lot of things.
Yeah, I felt a lot of things too.
We fundamentally disagree on diametrically opposed views on this.
Yeah.
But I hate it. I hate being tickled myself.
All right. Well, the thing about this movie is that it's not really about that. This movie is like a super interesting mystery with a couple of characters at the center.
There are still so many videos of tickle porn. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
A dude in New Zealand, a reporter, happened across this Facebook page.
Some sort of organized sport of tickling.
When did the video come back to get you?
About a year, maybe a little more. It said, your family better watch out, direct threats.
We're shooting a documentary.
I understand what you think you're doing.
Jane O'Brien's a ghost. Nobody knows who it is.
But there must be a way to find out, surely.
Not here.
The money's endless. I've never seen it stop coming. It's everywhere.
Couldn't stop.
It's very sick.
There's nobody to help me.
You've become a real target, and believe me, it will be really ugly.
I've had phone calls come in, we'll kill you.
It's insane.
We've been spotted.
Okay, so it starts with this adorably hot gay nerd, Dave Farrier. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, he's a journalist in New Zealand, and he does all the kooky pop culture stuff. He's the guy. There's footage of him skydiving and going to just weird
the
stuff.
donkey lady.
Yeah.
It's time for New Zealand's favourite pop culture reporter, David Farrier.
Basically, he's just like a fun pop culture-y guy, and he's like kind of just like kookily looking for his next story.
Yeah.
And he gets on the internet and he comes across this this video of competitive tickling endurance.
I've made a career out of looking at the weird and bizarre side of life. So when I discovered a strange video online, I knew I'd found my next story.
It's like a sport or something.
Yeah, get those air quotes ready. Sport.
So he's literally like, this seems weird. I want to track down this company and do a story on them.
Yeah, so he finds this company, Jane O'Brien Media.
Yeah.
An American company called Jane O'Brien Media was running a monthly event. Young athletes from anywhere on the planet could apply. If selected, they got free flights to LA, 4 nights in a really nice hotel, and $1,500 cash.
Oh, you also have to be like a gorgeous Twinkie boy.
You have to be 18 years old, between 18 and 23.
Yeah.
In really good shape.
Right. And just be gorgeous.
And naive.
Right.
Can we call spades a spade here? And
also, it helps if you're a beautiful tropical fish.
That's really a requirement in so many words.
So, okay, this gets a little crazy pretty fast.
Yeah.
Jane O'Brien sort of flies off the handle.
I mean, so David, right, doing the journalist thing, he's like, hello, I'm this, cute nerd journalist from New Zealand, and I want to do a story on you. Like, just said the basic stuff, like reaching out, try to do an interview. They immediately, so we're introduced to Jane O'Brien and Debbie Kuhn, a.k.a. these bitches.
I didn't see it coming. I really didn't see that coming.
AKA
these bitches. I really, sometimes I set you up, but I didn't see it coming.
Throw some plural at you. And they are immediately like, we will not work with a gay person.
So, of course, I told Jane O'Brien Media I'd like to do an interview. Instead of getting a yes or no, I got this.
To be brutally frank, association with a homosexual journalist is not something we will embrace. We desperately do not want a homosexual participant base applying for this project. My concern is that your journalistic style, fan base, and reputation in your own country. Regards, Debbie Kuhn, Jane O'Brien Media.
I mean, it is hilarious.
And me and David and everyone else watching it is like, this is the gayest thing ever. It's dudes in their boxers.
It was a strange response, especially considering the sport did seem slightly gay.
As he starts to prod a little bit more, it gets more intense. And they start sending him emails calling him the anti-gay F word, which apparently I don't say in this podcast.
Yeah.
Anything concerning homosexuality is at best an objective disorder. Shame on you, little gay Kiwi faggot.
No,
they were just relentless, these bitches. Just relentless. And then he's like, how are you taking this so seriously? It's a tickling competition.
Right.
Who cares?
It was hard to take the insult seriously, given what Jane was producing. If anything, it made me more curious than ever.
I mean, we were just off and running right away.
Yeah. He literally says, I get my nerd friend Dylan involved. Right. I was like, go easy on Dylan, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, settle down.
Look in the mirror, David. I love you, but come on. You guys are both New Zealand nerds.
I got my geeky friend Dylan to do some digging into this mysterious company and these overly aggressive women.
But what Dylan finds is that Jane O'Brien, this website, is owned by a German company.
Right.
And this German company owned over 300 domain names, all
related to tickling.
And it's like tickling hot guys, tickling gay guys, tickling. And you see the list and you're like, oh, all right. Who are the queens running this website saying that, like, these self-hating gay dudes?
I know,
like, what is happening here?
And just one more time, the emails seem so crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
crazy.
Just like so insane.
It's so bizarre.
And David, who has a parrot, by the way, which it doesn't get gayer than that.
No.
But David is just like, you can tell that David's one of those like silly, cute, hot nerds who's just like, I'm going to mess with these people. They fucked with the wrong hot gay guy.
It's true. And because they just kept if it was that one email, we probably would have been like, what a bunch of nutcases. Next.
Right.
They kept
totally.
egging them on, and it's like,
it would get like escalating the hate speech.
Yeah.
So
and
crazy.
I was just like, oh, let's go, David. Let's go get these guys, huh?
People were so interested by what we discovered, Dylan and I decided to make a documentary about this utterly bizarre subject.
So they get an email from the lawyer for Jane O'Brien Media, Romeo Salter. Is that how you say his name?
Salta. So they send a cease and desist letter. But then these bitches email them again, and they're like, oh, Even though we said the cease and desist, we already started taking legal action.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Soon, we were receiving emails from Salter telling us that legal action had been filed in the US. They're clearly serious about stopping this documentary.
I feel like at some point, David's got to be like, whoa, like, they're at 100 coming at him from the very beginning. And he's like,
this is a tickling thing. What is happening?
What? And it's like, stop talking, you crazy people, because then he's just going to want to get to the bottom of it.
Right. But it is like with every cease and desist he gets like hungrier to make this documentary.
Of course. So then we realize Jane O'Brien Media, I don't know who's bankrolling this thing. We'll find out later. No spoilers. But they have money to burn.
Right.
So they send 3 representatives to New Zealand.
Then, to top it all off, Jane O'Brien Media told us they were flying 3 people across the world from New York to New Zealand to see us.
So David is like they wouldn't tell me what flight they were on, but they did tell me what day. And so
weird.
This is just so brilliant.
I know.
David goes to the airport with honestly the gayest sign in the world. Like he's made this like rainbow pride flag sign.
Yeah.
And he's like, ever since 5 a.m., I just like sat here and looked at every plane that was coming in from JFK in New York City.
So from 5 a.m., I waited at arrivals. Not sure what to expect. I figured I'd disarm the situation with a rainbow-colored sign.
And he's just like standing there.
Like with a sign. Like, welcome bigots or whatever it said.
And it's obviously not like a super busy airport because like nobody ever comes out of that gate until these like 3, cue the derpy music. Please. 2 old gay guys and this hot little twink come like, of course the little twink is like pushing the luggage cart.
That's Adam.
Adam.
And then Marco with a K.
Right. Marco, knock it off. So at first they're all like sort of caught off. Everyone's like, what's happening here?
Right.
And David has totally got the upper hand at this point.
100%.
Because he's like, oh, hey guys, how are you? You know?
Just wanted to welcome you.
Yeah.
How's it going? I thought I'd make up a good welcoming sign.
Nice to meet you.
Good. How are you, sir?
It's so nice for you to come and see us.
That's all right. I thought I'd arrive. How was the flight?
It was wonderful. Really
good.
And they're all saying hi and whatever. Poor little twink in the background is like, what is happening?
And then Fat Kevin. I could say that because he's a monster.
Yeah, totally.
Disclaimer. He notices cameras.
Yeah.
And he flips. Yeah. And he's just like, what's that? You should not be doing that. Yeah. You're going to regret that. And I'm like, oh, so the threat's just immediate. Great. Got it. Just right on cue.
So you can get me there.
Camera right now?
Yes, we're just rolling from the beginning. Yeah.
You didn't do that without telling me first.
Okay. We've got a thing in New Zealand, we're okay to film in public spaces. So I'm just following the journey.
We're not going to have a good time if you do this. If you don't tell me what you're doing first, we're not going to get along.
So then they are super mad, and Kevin just walks away, right. Which is not the last time he storms off. Like Kevin.
Also, they've also just been on like a 19-hour flight from. It's just like must have been like a total mind f for them.
Oh, of course, and then he's yammering. He's like, "You, that's not respectful." It's like, Kevin, you know what's not respectful? Hate emails about being gay. Go to sleep, Kevin. God.
I understand what you think you're doing. But I'm not going to allow you to treat me without respect.
Okay.
And that's what you're doing right now.
So they sort of agree that they're going to have a meeting.
Their first meeting. I'm like, what else is there to talk about?
I know. They go to this meeting, and David, of course, is secretly recording.
Obviously.
He's like, I'm making a documentary, you guys.
I know. I was like,
of course I'm going to do that.
Come on.
And what happens at the meeting?
So a lot of things happen. First of all, David's just like, what's your problem with the documentary?
Right.
And they say, because they can't control the spin.
One of the reasons that it's hard for us to go on camera or to take part in the documentary is that, first of all, we don't think it would be very good for the company that we work for, because it seems like the spin, we have no control over what the spin would be.
Then they also say, like, oh, well, we're not affiliated with the legal matters that are happening.
They're like, we don't know Jane. We don't know Debbie Kuhn.
They've never
Judy's
met.
cousin.
Disclaimer, legal disclaimer. No relation. That's a joke.
Right. And David is like, what are you talking about? You've never met these people that you work for.
And Kevin's like, I don't think that's weird at all. And you're like...
No, but does it worry you that you haven't met the person?
Absolutely not. There are people in this world, in the world with a lot of money, that keep a firewall between themselves and what they do.
Well, then Kevin just starts screaming at David. You brought this on yourself.
You started this fight. I didn't. You were the one that decided this is what you were going to do. You mocked us. You've done everything you could. You attacked us in an airport. You sidewinded us. Let me make a point here. If you want to stick your head in the blast furnace, do it.
Kevin needs to take a good hard look in the mirror and start loving himself a little bit. What's all the anger for, Kevin? Why are you so mad? Is it because you can't accept who you are? You wish you were a twink like Adam? Is that what it is?
Poor Adam has no lines. He's an under 5 in this documentary for sure.
He constantly looks like a deer in headlights all the time.
I took a whole bunch of pictures. I only sent you 2. Oh my God, you guys, I'm going to post these in the Facebook group. I took all these screenshots of like twink Adam mugging, just being like, what have I gotten myself
big
into?
Eyes, what is going on? So then Kevin says he wants to meet David alone because he doesn't like Dylan. Like, how do you not like Dylan?
Kevin didn't take to Dylan very well and wants to meet me alone.
Like Dylan, of all of the crazy people in that room, Dylan's the one that made the bad impression.
Like, are you kidding?
I know.
So David's like, okay, like
this is my favorite part. What does David do?
David gets some secret camera in a coffee cup.
I quickly make this covert piece of technology, a camera in a coffee cup.
He mans it so badly. Like,
it's upside down. And like you can't see anything. It's really just for the audio.
Right. So what happens at this meeting?
So basically, they're like, you need to stop. Kevin wants to know, like, what's your end game with the documentary?
Right.
And David's like, I don't know, man. I'm making a documentary and I'll find what I find. And so they sort of get like, David's like, is this more trouble than it's worth? Like, what's going on here? Dylan is just like, no, man, we're doing this.
Well, because Dylan is really responding to the bullying. Dylan is very much like, these people are bullies.
Mm-hmm.
Facing lawsuits in a company with deep pockets, I wondered if we should just walk away. But Dylan was part of this now and didn't want to give in to a bunch of bullies.
So then, like, you hear, David's on the phone with Marco, and he's on the phone with various people, and Marco's like, well, if you don't want to do it, I think that's the right choice, and we'll deal with Dylan appropriately.
What I'm worried about, too, I know Kevin says, well, if he wants to go ahead with it, let him go ahead with it, but he'll become a real target, and believe me, it will be really ugly for him, and I would hate to see that, too, because I know he has a family, and, he's probably a good bloke down deep.
All the while you're hearing these calls, you're seeing the shots of like Dylan and his kid and his wife, and you're just like, holy shit, Dylan really has balls to be like, fuck that, I'm doing this.
Yeah, and because at this point they really don't know what can happen to them.
Yeah.
We learn later, like very soon, about what happens when you step up to these people.
Yeah.
Stand up to these people. So we don't really know yet. So Dylan's kind of like, what the hell? Like, what can they do to me?
Right. So the weird Americans leave and they go back to LA. And David and Dylan are like, you know what? We're going to go to LA too.
Yeah, let's follow them.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
I've never heard threats like this in my life. And all of this over some tickling. Kevin and Marco fly back to America. And a few days later, Dylan and I follow. Something about bullies with way too much money has convinced me I shouldn't drop it. Plus, we think there's a competitive tickling shoot happening this week.
So when they get to America, a couple of things are going on. They're going to try to track down like a shoot for like the tickling thing, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the first thing that they did was what?
They reached out to 100 guys who's in these tickling videos, and only one of them was willing to get on camera and tell his story.
Because all of the rest of them were too scared.
Yes.
Which also, again, it should be like ding, 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 ding. What is happening?
What is going on?
Yeah.
So TJ sort of tells us about this. TJ's the only guy who was willing to talk on camera.
For sure, he has a T-shirt somewhere that says #HotDummy. Like,
for sure.
A hot dummy.
And if he doesn't, you guys, let's get on it. TJ's been through enough.
We met Kevin Clark downtown LA somewhere. I can't remember exactly where I was at, but there's a studio. It seemed pretty normal at the time. My first impression of him, he was just like kind of a little weird.
And TJ was going through some hard times. He needed some money, and they were going to pay him $2,000.
$2,000, and like one of his family members had cancer.
Yeah, and he was like, I didn't really know what I was getting into, but he just needed the money.
Right.
And he walks in, and he's like, oh, they're all men.
And I didn't know I was going to get tied down. I had no idea what I would be for. Honestly, I was like, okay, what?
But so yeah, all of this weird stuff is happening. TJ is like tied down, and then all these guys are like tickling him.
And then Kevin was like, "Hey, don't worry. This is a potential military tactic."
And this is
whatever.
a thing that they tell people all the time: is that like, oh, these videos aren't for porn. We are, and even hot dumb TJ is like, okay, I knew that was bullshit.
Right.
I think he said Jane was doing a project on using tickling as a military tactic. And at that point, I knew it's complete bullshit, you know? I was like, okay, yeah, military is gonna use tickling as a torture tactic.
But he needed the money, and he was just kind of like, at the end of the day, he's like, I hope that I can just get my $2,000. Some creep is gonna like have this for his private collection, and it's never gonna show up anywhere.
Yeah, and they didn't sign a waiver saying you could publish this on the internet.
Right,
but
yeah.
Jane O'Brien Media doesn't give a shit
No.
because now they start publishing these videos.
Well, yeah, right. So they start publishing them. TJ doesn't know that they're publishing them. He Googles himself one day because he's like I guess he's kind of like a semi-professional athlete, and he Googles himself.
Yeah.
And he, all of a sudden, it's like, they show the Google page and it's like TJ's Tickle Fest or whatever. And it's like, he clicks on it and all of a sudden he's watching his like tickle video.
Right.
Hello, I'm TJ, and I'm here on the tickling competition. And first question is, are you ticklish? Well, obviously I'm ticklish if I'm here, so that's kind of a silly question, but...
And so he emails Jane O'Brien and saying, please take it down. Of course, like then just like, and the floodgates of harassment emails for TJ.
And they don't take it down. So TJ then emails YouTube and says that they put this up without my permission.
And they took it down.
Yeah.
Good on you, YouTube.
Right.
So I emailed Jane and I asked her to take the video down. She didn't ever reply. So I took the matters into my own hand, and I told YouTube that they're illegally using my name. So YouTube took the video down. That's when it all started.
But then it's like, all of a sudden, he's getting these emails saying, like, let's see how you handle the fallout. Not well, I'm
I don't think you've
guessing.
grasped the magnitude of what you've provoked. It's a tickle video. Like, who are you? This isn't the mafia.
Right,
like, what are you talking about?
Totally.
Then there's like this image of like every video site that it's on.
Right.
And then they like,
make a web page with his name, like whatever TJ's full name is, and they put the video on it with his personal phone number, his home address, his email address, like, and then they're calling his schools where he coaches, and they're saying that he's gay and he's a deviant and he's
a child molester,
molesting people, and he's like, none of this, of course, is true.
Right. And they're sending things to his potential employers so they know who he's trying to get jobs with.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is absolutely bonkers.
And you're just like, how did I get here from a tickle video? Like,
for
what are you
$2,000,
talking about?
right? Yeah.
And he said it destroyed his life.
It's cost me money. It's cost me jobs. It's cost me harassment, which is exactly what Debbie Kuhn and Jane O'Brien wanted. So, I mean, more or less, in that aspect, they've won.
The next thing that happens is like the first of many stakeouts.
Mm-hmm.
They find somehow he finds out where they're doing like a tickling shoot, and they show up in the car with like tinted windows and cameras.
Right. And then it's like, oh my God, there's Marco. Oh my God, there's Kevin. Oh my God, and it's all three of the dudes that like have no affiliation with Jane O'Brien Media, supposedly.
Exactly.
Who's that guy?
Oh, that's Marco.
It's the guy from New Zealand.
Yep.
It's Kevin.
And then it's like, again, just like 20-year-old buff dudes.
Right. And they're all like filing in.
And they said they could hear laughter coming out of the vents of the building, like this creepy warehouse.
And they're
so
there like
weird.
all day. They see the boys coming out for like smoke breaks.
Or like a pep talk.
Oh, then there's like, you can
That
tell
was so
that there's
weird.
like you can tell one of these straight guys is like, I don't think this is what you said it was going to be.
Yeah.
That's my hot, dumb straight guy.
This isn't going to be on the internet or nothing, right? No,
For
Chad,
the
don't
four
worry about
straight
it.
guys that listen to this, you guys are not the dumb ones. We're not talking to you. So like, they're like, okay, we're gonna go in, and they like get on the sidewalk, and they're like walking, and David's like, oh, we've been spotted.
Right.
And then he gets there, but he's too much of a he's too much of a
wimp.
Yeah. He's too much of a wimp to like step foot inside the actual venue.
With pending lawsuits, I'm cautious and don't want to storm into the studio.
I haven't locked the door.
I think we go. All right. Okay, let's go. Yep, we're good.
Yeah, well, I thought that was maybe a little
he's
a little on purpose. I thought that because he was just like, "Hey guys, how are ya?"
Hello, Marco. Hey guys. Adam, how's it going? Hello, sir.
You're not welcome here.
We're not welcome here?
And I'm calling the police. Bye.
Meanwhile, these guys have just left him in New Zealand like 4 days ago.
I know.
They think he's gone and
It takes
forgotten.
2.5 days to fly here, so it's just
right.
And then they're immediately, and then Adam the twink, like he gets some
Twink Adam.
confidence, and he's like, "Sir."
No. And they like shut the door in his face, and that's when they're like, well, I guess we're not going to get an interview.
Right.
You don't want to do any final chats or anything? Last opportunity? That's all we can do.
And we're back. Okay, so they sort of go on a road trip adventure, right? At this point.
I've tracked down a man in Florida who also makes tickling videos, but unlike Jane, is more than happy to talk about it.
They go to Orlando. David and Dylan go to Orlando to meet Richard Ivey, who he's a guy who makes tickle videos, who's like any normal person with a business is more than happy to talk and get some exposure.
And he's also like, I have a fetish for this. And like some people do. And that's fine.
I know his little backstory of like finding out when he was like 5 or 6 watching the cartoons.
Yeah.
And see, like when they would tie up the people in the cartoons, I was like, I like that.
Yeah.
You see something in a cartoon or a magazine that's, kind of interests you as a little kid. And for me, it would be, like cartoon characters being tickled or tied up or, that sort of thing. And it would, fascinate me, but I had no idea why.
And it's also just, I think the documentary is saying, like, not everyone who's into this is trying to scam you and ruin your life.
Totally.
Just so you know, like, you can still be into this, you guys, and not be a total creepo.
And so they take us on like a shoot, and he's got this like gorgeous model, and this must have been actual tickle torture for you.
I hate it. I didn't watch it. Like,
you didn't?
I had the volume on lower. I was watching this on my computer, and I had like another window in front of it, so I was like, oh god.
This guy was for sure a beautiful tropical fish, like so sweet and so handsome.
So catch your breath. Breath caught. Okay. All right.
I'll tell everybody what a tough guy you are.
And then he's like tickling this guy, and it is really funny to watch. And then it gets kind of gross.
Not for everybody, Patrick. Some of us had a real problem with it.
And then he's like, oh, there's like nipple play. I don't know, it's too much.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, there was nipple play. It was a lot.
Okay, well.
So then, but the main point of this guy is that he introduces us to
Terry DeSisto, a.k.a. Terry Tickle, a.k.a. this bitch.
At the time, late 90s, was somebody that posted on the message boards a lot. And she said her name was Terry Tickle. And Terry DeSisto, she put in what her real name was. She always had a picture of herself, a blonde, pretty, college-age girl. And she just said that she was a tickling fanatic. But these posts were everywhere.
God. She's a tickling fanatic, but it's not porn, you guys.
She always posted the same verbiage. Something like, this is not porn. My interest is in tickling.
He's saying, like, when I first started doing this, there was this other woman, Terry Tickle, who was also doing this. And she was like you said.
Was she really aggressive or something? Weird.
I know.
Is there anyone else in this movie that's aggressive? Weird.
Right. We're going to start connecting some dots, you guys.
Yeah.
But so we learn about this. What else? What do we need to know about Terry?
Just that she was everywhere. She was on every message board.
Yeah.
They just kept running into each other on the internet back in the 90s, where it was all just like you found things that you liked. There were no Facebook groups to join.
Right.
There was no Twitter. It was like you go on these really, really antiquated looking message boards and meet people that share your interests. And that's and she was everywhere.
So this connects to a guy, this sweet old man in LA named, what's his name? Dave Starr.
For most of his life, Dave Starr's worked on the edges of the entertainment industry, even acting in a couple of pornos. During the mid-90s, he noticed Terry's online posts wanting tickling videos. Lots of them.
Dave Starr was Terry's casting agent and did all the videos for her. Like, she would, again, never met. They didn't meet each other.
No, and I love that he feels like this would be up his alley because he was had done porn and he was on the fringes of the casting scene.
Right. It just, everything came together for Dave in this moment.
Hey, sometimes there's a guy for a job and a job for a guy.
Right? Terry's whole thing, Terry wanted Dave Starr to make these videos, cast them, do everything in a studio, and send them to her.
So the thing is, at one point, she gets sick with
mono?
Terry was hospitalized for 6 months. During that time, she just wrote letters specifying exactly what she wanted in the tickling videos.
David, Merry Christmas. So sorry I'm in the hospital with mono. David, just a few things I need you to do. Tell him I will send the computer as soon as I'm well. His name is Josh. I hope to be online again in Feb. I'm still sick in bed. That's all for now. TD.
So then what happens is we see that all of a sudden she's posting these videos online without the talent consent.
And she's buying domain names in the talent's name.
Right, exactly.
And then making it, like the TJ Tickle porn site with all this crazy shit.
So Dave, professional casting director as he is not taking that shit lying down.
I loved when I heard that, where he was like, oh, I was out. And I was like, Dave.
I closed down submissions for her, and I guess I'm basically was like her tickling drug dealer. And since she wasn't getting her drug anymore, she was going through tickle withdrawals.
Terry Tickle makes this man's life a living hell. And this is where you start to see the depths of her actual depravity.
And it's also when we're like, okay, so Terry Tickle is Jane O'Brien Media.
Right,
Everything, it's all the same shit.
Yeah.
So David now walks us through with David Starr now and David Journalist.
I know, there's so many Davids in this and only one of them is hot.
So they're together, and he says that Terry employed what he called the phone blaster, where she would get this like computerized voice to just record threats, and then she would send them to everyone in your life.
You have been identified as a known associate of homosexual pornographer David W. Starr. Your phone number, personal information, and your precise relationship with David Starr are entirely known and subject to publication on the internet.
So, and she sent them to specifically the people that Dave Starr had cast. It actually, because we're watching a documentary, it was kind of weird, but I'm thinking about like getting that voicemail would scare the living shit out of me.
1999?
Yeah, totally.
Like, that's nuts.
Terrifying. Then she starts sending letters and cards to him and his mother. Right. And she's just an evil human.
She's taunting the two of them about David's dead brother. We don't know how he died. We don't know when. But she's sending like birthday cards.
Roses are red. Violets are blue. Can't spell worth shit. David W. Starr has brought this upon you. Perhaps you wish, perhaps instead, that David, your failure, not Edward, were dead. That's a reference to my brother who is dead.
But what I love is that David Starr, the casting guy, is just like, she was insane. She must have been on meth or doing cocaine up the ass or whatever. And I'm like, David.
This person's got to be on crystal or something. Or taking cocaine up the ass or something like that.
Okay, so now we meet two journalists who like in the early 2000s were hot on the trail of what the hell is her name?
Several names. So either Terry Tickle, Jane O'Brien, Debbie Kuhn. And speaking of, there are a couple Davids.
Yeah.
One of these badass journalists, her name is also Debbie. So we have Hal and Debbie that we're dealing with. Debbie is not sending this. Debbie is not a this bitch.
No, right. She does look like a Harvard educated.
100%.
She looks like a very smart lady.
Yeah. So Hal and journalist Debbie have similar stories of kids
like college kids,
right? So whenever the kids would say, I don't really want to do this anymore, that would spark this harassment.
Terry DeSisto's MO was to bait these boys into making tickling videos with things that they wanted. She would just keep sending them whatever they wanted, computers, cameras, more cash, tickets to rock concerts. And at some point, even a teenage boy has all the toys that they want. And they say, I'm done. But I think the thing that she hates the most was no. It was like a bomb went off. And she'd say, well, if you don't do it, I'm going to make your life hell.
So not only was the money seemingly endless, but she could hack into things and make it look like you were email bombing the White House.
Which is insane.
So the Secret Service would show up to your dorm.
The Secret Service showed up to this one kid's door. She could also make it so that the email server at your university would go down and it would look like you had done it.
It's crazy.
And so it's all of this this crazy nonsense that we're learning about from these two reporters. And finally, this one reporter says that the kid that he was working with gets an email from somebody that says, hey, if you want Terry to leave you alone, send her this file that I'm attaching to this email, and she'll leave you alone.
It was a zip file.
It was a zip file. So the kid sends it to Terry Tickles, or whatever the hell her name is, and also sends it to journalist Hal.
And Hal could not be giddier about it.
Yeah.
And I remember opening it up and thinking, wow, this is it. Like, this is the smoking gun.
And it's just hundreds and hundreds of documents proving who she is.
Yeah.
and all this shit. So now this really unravels because who is she?
Who is it, Jillian?
David D'Amato from Long Island.
A boy,
New
like
York.
a man.
Yeah. But here's the thing. He's a fucking assistant principal.
And this is where like the lady journalist goes crazy.
I just couldn't believe it. I don't know why, but it just seemed, here's this sadistic person exploiting these young people, often underage, making their lives miserable, embarrassing them to an extent that it goes against everything that an educator should be doing.
But Hal is like, this is amazing. Calls the FBI. Within a week, they pull up David D'Amato and they like haul him into jail, or to court, I should say.
Right, and this is so
David D'Amato
insane.
also looks exactly what you think he looks.
Oh
like.
yeah. Oh, David D'Amato looks.
He looks like the composite of the Zodiac Killer. So he got off super easy because his father owned a fancy law firm.
Well, that's kind of a big deal. We find out that his dad is like a founder of this fancy New York law firm.
It turns out David D'Amato's father, George, co-founded one of Wall Street's biggest law firms, D'Amato and Lynch. And David got a really great lawyer. Instead of prison, D'Amato was allowed to serve his sentence in a halfway house while he studied law at his father's alma mater, Fordham University.
He's charged with fraud and
computer abuse or whatever.
But not threats or not lying or not identity theft. Because what he was doing was using the social security number of Terry DeSanto is a real human who died.
Right.
So he got all of her information. I'm like, dude, how is this happening?
I know, this guy is so crazy.
So they say that he got to live in a halfway house where
instead
he
of going to
studied
jail
at Fordham Law. But then when Fordham got wind of it, they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, no, you can't come here anymore." Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So then, though, because that was part of the deal. Once Fordham kicked him out or didn't let him go there, then he had to spend those 6 months in prison, which is when he was sick with mono.
So if you remember Terry Tickle or whatever, when she was dealing with Dave Starr, the poor casting director for her, that she was really nice to, and then she turned on with that crazy robocall. Remember the whole time when she was in the hospital with mono? Well, it turns out that really it was David D'Amato the whole time, and this was the time that he was in jail.
Right.
And that's why he can't, he couldn't get to the internet and he couldn't do
Right.
anything. And so David, the filmmaker, is showing these letters to the lady journalist.
Debbie.
And she, again, she just can't believe
Can't handle it.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, look at the date on that. Look
Yeah.
at the date on that.
Yeah.
And she's still her head is still spinning about what's happening. And he's
Right.
like, no, look at the date on that because that was when she was sick with mono.
Right, totally.
Tell him I'll pay everything owed as soon as the mono is better. Oh, get headshots. My God. Oh, my God. I won't be online for a while as I am very sick. Oh.
Okay, so here's where we kind of are, right? So now we all know that it's David D'Amato is the person behind all of this stuff. However, there's we just know it. It's not been proven in a court of law or whatever. So they David the filmmaker publishes this theory on the blog.
Right.
And it goes out to the internet, and David D'Amato sees it, gets furious, and it hires a lawyer and private investigators, and he's like, it's not me, and Jane O'Brien Media is like, it's not me, and now this filmmaker's being sued by Jane O'Brien Media and sued by David D'Amato, and so he's just like, this is crazy.
Right.
We're now being attacked by Jane O'Brien's lawyers on one side and David D'Amato's on the other, both insisting they have nothing to do with each other. Once again, we're way out of our depth.
And then we're suddenly at a mixed martial arts event
in Michigan. So what we're finding out now is that Jane O'Brien Media has these tickle cells all over the world, we're told.
That makes it sound so scary, right?
I know.
It feels like they're all in these Warren Jeffs dungeons, and you're like,
right.
What?
So filmmakers go to this town in Michigan to meet this guy Jordan, who's the casting director there.
Sings like a canary, that Jordan.
A couple of the guys are nervous because they've threatened us, death threats. I've had private phone calls come in, we'll kill you. And then Jane sent some stuff that was, I guess, really threatening to a couple of the guys and telling us we better keep our mouths shut and not talk to you. And I got a phone call from a weird number out of Jamaica.
The thing that's really sad, though, is that, they're in the car having a conversation, and David is like, why do you think they picked this town in Michigan to have a tickle cell? And he's like, well...
We've made it now on the top 100 most dangerous cities in the United States.
Do you think, on some level, Jane kind of directed things here because it is a poor area?
Yeah. The poverty level, is easy to target, thousands of dollars in kids' hands that's a big deal.
Jordan calls her Jane because he doesn't know about the David Amato thing at this point.
Right.
He is saying that Jane has gotten obsessed with mixed martial arts, and she's hired Jordan to get these mixed martial arts boys to do the tickle porn videos.
And because here's the thing, in mixed martial arts, which I was like, oh, you learn something new every day. Tickling is not illegal in the ring.
Right.
That's what she was trying to do, is break into the MMA world. Because it's not illegal to tickle somebody to get out of a submission in mixed martial arts. Like, she was trying to pitch that because she, looked it up and all the rules and everything.
So remember when early on she was getting these guys to do it by saying oh, this isn't porn, we're practicing military tactics.
Right.
Now she's trying to get these mixed martial arts guys to do it because she's saying, hey, you can use this in mixed martial arts.
Right.
Let's practice it.
And Jordan is like, maybe it's not illegal in the ring, but you'll get your ass kicked the minute the first fight is over for trying to do some stupid move like that.
But if you tickle a guy in the middle of that ring to get out of a submission, you might step out of the cage and get punched in the face.
What a cheap shot.
But it doesn't stop Jordan from being like, but I'm still gonna go out and find these boys for you.
And then he's like the head of that tickle cell, basically.
Can we talk about the premiums?
Oh my God. Yeah, I think I might have.
You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah. Well, there were some hot commodities, I guess, that Jane in particular really wanted.
Yeah.
Asians and redheads are what they call premiums. If you get those, she gives you bonuses.
And then cut to Jordan on a bed with a redhead.
I know.
Talking about, now Jordan is again trying to be like, so we're going to do this thing where we're going to tickle each other because we're going to see if we can use this in mixed martial arts. And it's all a cover for getting these boys to do the tickle porn.
And it's not in a ring. It's not in a
it's
gym.
on a bed at a hotel.
A motel bed.
I'm Jordan Schlacke, and this is CET. We're going to be having a discussion, more of a debate today about whether tickling is effective in a combat situation.
David the filmmaker drops a bomb on Jordan and tells him about David Amato. Right. Tells this straight, cute Michigan boy that he's been making these movies for what is actually a gross man.
Right.
And Jordan loses his shit.
Yeah, Jordan basically is like, I will beat the shit out of this guy if I ever meet him.
Jordan definitely goes from 0 to 100 real fast.
Good for him. He has every right to.
I'm literally trembling for right now.
Are you actually shaking?
Yeah, I'm actually shaking. If that, I'm not like I said, from being from here, I don't take shit. If I met up with that guy, I'd punch him right out, and when he woke up, he'd be strapped to a chair with I'd be like, dude, you're telling me everything right now.
What happens is they get a call from their producer who threatens to pull the plug on the whole thing.
Right.
Because he's like, we're getting all these lawsuits. Everyone's suing us. We can't do anything that's gonna that potentially causes more lawsuits.
Right.
And David and Dylan are basically like, okay, we won't, bye, and they hang up and get in the car and go to New York. They're like, we got to find this David Amato guy right now.
Right this minute.
Yeah.
This tickling empire is way bigger than we ever imagined. We're going to New York to find David D'Amato.
This is where we learn where's the money coming from?
I know.
There's so much money.
I want to know how on earth a former deputy principal pays for all this. We can't find any sign he's earning money from the videos, but he's spending lots of money making them. He's flying up to 10 people into LA almost every month from all over the world, putting them up in a nice hotel, paying them thousands in cash. And that's not even taking into account the cost of running tickle cells like the one in Muskegon.
And then he starts making phone calls. So David, the documentarian, calls David D'Amato's father's law firm and just asks, literally just asks point blank, is David D'Amato still financially dependent on his father?
We're just trying to figure out where the money is coming from.
Yeah. I'm doing looking into the background to his son David, and I'm just trying to figure out whether he's got any financial relationship with the company still.
I really don't know. I'm sorry. I can't help you.
Is there someone I could talk to at D'Amato and Lynch to find out?
Not that I believe. No, I'm sorry.
Okay, but there must be a way to find out, surely.
Not here. Thank you.
He says, too, that George D'Amato, who's David D'Amato's father, his former secretary,
oh my God,
is like, I don't know anything, but I just can tell you that this is dangerous and you should go home by.
Yeah, he's been pretty aggressive towards me, so I'm just trying to figure out what his motivations are.
Get away from him. That's all I can tell you.
Really?
Yeah. Stay away from him.
And you're like, but David's like, great. And another day at work, he's so excited. This is like his favorite thing in the world.
Right,
to hear
totally.
that things are awful. This is when things get really intense. You know, I love a good like ambush in one of these documentaries. You know, like Tanya Head and the woman who wasn't there.
Totally.
Then, you know, and this is that.
Yeah.
So David and Dylan do a stakeout, yet another stakeout.
Yeah.
For days outside David D'Amato's apartment. So they're sitting in this car for days, and they're like, well, he has to leave eventually.
Right.
And then there's the moment of, it's him.
It's got white plates. Hang on. Okay. It's him.
And here is the thing. These guys, and this happens in every stakeout, they are like super confident. They're super ready to do it until the moment happens. You can hear Dylan breathing so loudly.
And David, too. David's like,
I know.
breathing really
I know.
heavy.
At one point, Dylan is even like, I'm breathing really loudly.
Yeah.
I'm breathing heavily.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
And then, like, Dylan, just in his nervous wreckness, is, like, narrating he's like, he's in that lane. Now we're in that lane. Now he's in that lane.
Now we're in that lane. It's true.
He's in the right-hand lane, as in the left-hand lane?
Yeah.
He hasn't turned right. He's in, whoa, one car behind him. You're right in his mirror now.
Dylan is losing his mind. He does
can't.
not know what's going to happen.
Right. So then David gets out of the car. He goes to Starbucks, David
Right.
D'Amato. So
Yeah.
David, documentarian, gets out, and it's like, he's here. Okay, I think he's here. Okay, he's going to Starbucks.
Okay,
It'll be a while.
perfect.
Okay, I'm just going to go and have a conversation when he comes out. I've got my phone if you need me.
Okay.
And then
Oh my God. Again, he's such a wimp. The guy comes out of the Starbucks. The gross David D'Amato comes out of the Starbucks. Hot David filmmaker follows him to the car.
D'Amato's also like, hey, how are you?
Mr. D'Amato. Hi, it's Dave Farrier. Hey, how are you?
He definitely isn't the Harvey Fierstein queen I imagined he was going to be. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And it's like literally asks none of the questions you want him to ask. He's like, can we talk about the lawsuits? You're suing me?
Because I'm just worried about the legal letters you've sent me, and I just wanted to know if we could just talk about it face to face.
There is a legal issue about me suing you right now.
Is there?
Yes. You're in this country on a tourist visa. By doing anything related to so-called journalism, you're in violation of the federal law here. I'll be back for a long time.
I'm on a journalism visa, so I'm okay to be here. But
We're going to let INS see about that.
You're not going to ask him about the tickling? You're not going to be like, are you Jane O'Brien? Are you Nancy Tickler? Whatever the hell that person's name was.
Right.
He doesn't ask any of the questions. I'm like on the edge of my seat, and he's like trying to convince him what kind of visa he's here on.
Right.
So basically he like speeds away. He's like, I'll see you in the proper place at the proper time.
I will see you at the right venue, believe me.
Could you contact me if possible?
So David gets back in the car.
And then we get back to our friend Hal, journalist.
Yeah.
And there's this bombshell.
They go back to that German company domain where they have
Right.
those 300 domain names
Yeah.
registered, and somehow
One of them is like a directory listing of all of the files on David D'Amato's computer.
On one of those domain names, there was just a directory listing, including a folder called My Documents. It looks like D'Amato has accidentally made hundreds of his private files public on the internet.
Hundreds of pages proving that he runs Jane O'Brien Media, that
Right.
he is Jane O'Brien, that
Yeah.
he was Terry Tickle, all of the
that he
like,
owns this German company that has these 300 domain names.
it was like it's like a dream. It's like
Right.
too good
I
to
know.
be true.
It's
It's
unbelievable.
everything
Yeah.
that they were looking for.
Meanwhile, all of the litigation stuff, like all the letters, we see David, the hot David filmmaker, going to see the lawyer, and he's like, "Hi, you know how you have like 18 lawsuits out against me?" And he's like,
What? I'm sorry, what? And then there's an I'm sorry, what off. Because David is like, wait, I'm sorry, what? This is your address, though.
And he's like, if you look at the website for Jane O'Brien Media, it says that your address is the world headquarters address of Jane O'Brien Media. And this lawyer is just like he's like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And
he's like, I literally sent you one email.
It's very simple. I only sent one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
there's your answer.
Yeah.
And then we realized, so all of the lawsuits and all of the legal
It's
matters,
all fake.
Which I was like,
note to self, you guys, just tell somebody you're suing them and they'll believe you.
It's true.
You know?
It's so true. And then in those documents, in that directory, he's a trust fund baby.
And it's finally clear to me how he funds his tickling empire. As of late 2012, he had almost $6 million in his checking account, and his living expenses were being paid by a trust established by his father.
And his mother's estate, too.
Right, which was another like $5 million.
So he just has...
He's just like this crazy rich, creepy guy.
And every month there's a deposit of like $12
$30
million.
grand.
Or
Yeah,
you're just
yeah.
like...
I know. It sort of ends with the hot filmmaker David in the car, and he's like, there's one more call I want to make. And he calls the stepmother. David says to the stepmother, so he's back to making those tickle videos. And she goes, he is.
Oh, God.
He's sort of back to the tickling stuff again.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, God.
Since when? And he's like, he never stopped.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
I know. And the stepmother is like, I don't know if he's gay or if he's asexual.
I don't know if he's gay or he's asexual, but he's never had a girlfriend that I ever knew of. I asked my husband once if he would be upset if he found out he was gay, and he said that he would be upset, but he would get over it.
It basically ends with this woman being like, I have no relationship and I'm afraid of him.
Yeah. And then we learned that despite, this is like the on-screen text at the
Yeah.
end, this is the little follow-up, despite impersonating lawyers, creating fake identities, and harassing young men, D'Amato has only ever been found guilty on 2 misdemeanor charges
I
of
know.
computer fraud and abuse.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that one time that he was brought into court.
So after he was confronted on camera, all of the fake legal papers stopped. But Jane O'Brien Media,
Still.
at the end of the documentary, was still running competitive endurance tickling all over the
You want to
world.
hear something creepy?
What?
David D'Amato died.
I know. That's what I was going to say.
And Jane O'Brien Media is still going.
What?
There was an article I was just reading before you got here about how is it possible that Jane O'Brien Media is still going when he's dead?
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to have an update next week.
Girl, I am just tickled pink that we got through that.
Gross.
Where can the people find us?
At True Crime Obsessed.
No ED.
On the Twitter and truecrimeobsessed.com.
Stream our episodes.
Yeah.
Where can they find you?
At Jillian with a G. All spelled out like that.
I'm at Patrick Hines on the Twitter, at Patrick Hines _ on the Instagram. What are we doing next time?
Ooh, tabloid.
Yes, everyone keeps asking for it. I'm so excited.
And everyone keeps asking for it, and it's not like Dear Zachary.
You guys, don't forget to join our Facebook group. It's True Crime Obsessed Podcast Discussion Group, right?
Yes.
And leave us an iTunes review. We love you so much. So here's the trailer for Tabloid. And then we're going to do our outtakes. And then stay tuned for our new palate cleanser.
Yes.
A peppy show tune to send you out.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Once upon a time, there was a little princess, the most beautiful little princess in all the land.
Kinky sex, religion, a beauty queen, Mormon missionaries, kidnapped at gunpoint. There was something in that story for everyone. It was a perfect tabloid story.
When I met my Kirk, it was like in the movies. When Juliet looks at Romeo and it's...
She had fallen in love with him and become obsessed by him.
The next thing I know, he vanished into thin air. I found him in England. The Mormons had him.
Joyce set up this plan.
I knew there was only one way to get Kirk out of Mormonism, and that was to make love with him. Kirk and I went to this cottage. We made love for 3 days. It was like a honeymoon.
This bizarre story began here last Wednesday. A young Mormon missionary was kidnapped, driven to a house, blindfolded, and his legs shackled.
I couldn't believe it. It was just like shock.
It was in all the papers.
Were you surprised to be put in prison?
I really didn't feel I'd done anything wrong.
Scenario number 1, fake gun, chloroform, tied up, sexual impropriety. second version is Joyce's story. The Mormons get him, brainwash him, all of a sudden he's claiming rape.
A guy either wants to have sex or he doesn't. That's like putting a marshmallow in a parking meter.
The British Isles was on fire with the Joyce McKinney story.
I was a celebrity.
She was having the time of her life. Disguises and wigs.
Worms crawl out of the woodwork when you become famous.
They had a tip, 38, 24, 36. Your fantasy is her speciality.
The press went crazy.
They said I was a whore.
Oh my heck, as they say in Utah.
She went barking mad. She disappeared a day later.
It's not a porno story like these crazy newspapers have tried to make it. It's a love story.
You know, you can tell a lie long enough till you believe it.
What's her name?
Debbie Kuhn.
Because all I can think of is Judy Kuhn. She's like the
yeah,
famous
of course.
Broadway star.
Yeah, of course.
Every time they say Debbie Kuhn, I start singing like the mom songs
No
from Fun
relation.
Home.
No relation. Yeah, that he has some weird rabid gay following that like what,
Right.
what is, and who cares?
Right, totally.
You want the
I
rabid
know,
gay
I
following.
know.
What are you, nuts?
Romeo Salter, is that how you say his name?
Salta.
So-
It's S-A-L-T-A.
Is that, can you say it again?
Salta?
Salta.
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 Romeo Salta. I don't understand how anyone agreed to any of this. I will never get it. It's like rat tail status for me. Like I just don't understand it. I don't. It's a tickle contest.
Right, this is a tickle torture.
Yeah, like
please.
enough, please.
Can we get a Jillian Pensavalli please up in here?
Please. When they do the like quick pan of the mother's estate,
No.
like, everything he's left, she also leaves him her cats. One of which is named Harry Potter, and it's named in the estate. And I was like, why? What Harry Potter? And I was like, no, rewind, slow motion, pause. Harry Potter is listed in the mother's estate.
I cannot tell you how many times in my notes I have in all red capital letters, "Stop being so adorable, you hot nerd." He looks like my husband, kind of.
A little bit, yeah.
My husband's hotter.
Also, read what you sign, everybody. And make copies for your records.
Yeah, totally. Just a reminder that we're taking next week off for the holiday. And here's your palate cleanser, a song called This Is Me, sung by my friend Kayala Settle from the upcoming film The Greatest Showman.
This is who I'm meant to be. This is me.